the things we've gone over together, I think I'm much more aware in game. I'm probably still making a lot of mistakes regarding it, but I'm much more like I'm thinking about them a lot more. Especially like breaking down the ranges rather than play your hand. Like I see my hand, what's it worth, etc. You know, think about
Yeah.
the ranges much more.
How much easier are you finding that now? I know it's still you probably still have to be conscious with it,
Uh,
but
it, yeah, I think that the further you go and the more repetitive it gets, like certain things just stick in your brain. The more you go through them, obviously. But yeah, it's just practice and repetition, really, isn't it?
yeah. Before you know it, you'll be doing it automatically. You'll be doing it with
Yeah,
side
yeah,
tables when
yeah,
you focused on something else, and that's when it starts to really feel
yeah. A lot of what
comfortable.
I noticed was a lot of the river stuff. I was like, what? Getting to rivers where it goes check check turn, and I was thinking, well, how much is this hand worth? Like, should I bet or should I check raise? If I check, can I check raise? If not, I probably should bet the hand myself, depending on what category it's in. So that's something I found myself looking into that I wasn't doing before.
Yeah, that's really good. That's going to make rivers a lot easier
Yeah, yeah,
because rivers are hard, man. You're out of position.
yeah,
Ranges aren't looking like the pre-flop ranges by the time you get to the river. It doesn't matter what actions you've taken, whether you've been checking or betting.
yeah,
The ranges are going to be all fucked up. Um, if we're looking at out of position, we're often going to be in the big blind, so the ranges are wide and fucked up. So it's a tough line to play, but keeping it simple with the stuff we talked about last time is going to be. I'm not aware of a better way to break down a complicated range than using that system
yeah.
of the four
Same.
categories. That's consistent as well, because that's what you want. You don't want to memorize every sim. You just want a system that's going to give you a good answer
Yeah.
as often as possible.
There's been spots as well where I'm like, right, he's checked a turn on a turn that I think like should always barrel with value, and I'm like, so he's capped, and then I value bet the river, somewhat thin, and then he's just shown up with a better hand. But I'm like, oh, I'm okay with that line because I think in the long run that's gonna do quite well because they are gonna be capped. But like in one example, he might have just checked back a hand. He probably should bet, you know.
Yeah. Do you have an example of the hand? Like, do you remember the hand?
I can't off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I can't really recall it, but I just remember in a session, it's like top pair. Like for example, like they should always barrel top pair, and it's like a weak top pair, so they check, and then you value bet strong like second pair or whatever.
Yeah. Tell you what, should we crack on with the out of position, the big blind stuff?
Yeah,
Obviously, I've made a note
yeah. I
here
think that's
of C betting out of position, so we can
yeah,
move on to that too
yeah, yeah.
at
I
some
think
point.
anything regarding big blind is always going to be pretty valuable, to be honest.
Yeah, let me just take a look at your win rate super quick. Actually, I don't think we have that many hands, do we? Your win rates are looking all pretty reasonable. Like, there's none of them that are standing out as super low. Like if
I
I
think the
pull up,
last time you said my race first thing could be higher in later position.
or in terms of your notes, let's take a look. Yeah, button
So
cutoff
probably
still a
missing.
little bit tight.
Yeah, missing the bottom opens maybe.
We looked at full verse 3-bet, right? You seem to be a little
Yep.
bit more switched on with
Yeah, we
that
did.
in terms of, the ace 9 offs.
Yeah.
We had, what else did we have? 9
In
8
position
suited
that was
when we're
though, isn't it?
shallow. It was, yeah.
That's probably a good one to go through maybe another time if you want to go through big blind now, but like calling three bets out of position as well.
Yeah, we can do that. So cut off hijack, low jack, whatever it is.
Yeah, for example, yeah.
Right, let me make a note. So in terms of future, are these just topics you feel less confident than you want
Yeah.
to feel
Yeah.
in? C-bet out of position and 3-bet pots out of
Yeah.
position. Right, I've made a note of those for us.
I think obviously naturally out position's harder anyway, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, especially three bet pots. But again, that I think a lot of that'll come down to defining ranges. Like once you get the ranges not nailed, but like you have a good idea of and a good understanding of what hands you should be calling, maybe folding or four betting, then post flop becomes a bit easier then as well.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. That's why I'm preaching pre-flop ranges 24/7, and
Yeah.
people are probably fucking sick of me talking about them. But they're just too important.
Mhm.
They're too important. They're driving the strategy. So
Yeah.
they're the foundation, right? And having a super weak understanding of the foundation, it's not going to make it easier to solve these kind of spots. It's going to make it a lot fucking harder, for sure.
Yeah.
This one's interesting. What do you think about this?
He raised we call big blind, was it?
Yes.
I should probably bet the flop, I think. I don't hate check, but I think bet may be better. Turn is when I do check turns. Like I don't know if I can fold with 2 overs in a gut shot. He goes pretty big, but still.
Yeah.
Like when I check the flop, I probably don't have a 9. I mean, I might have an 8, but unlikely.
What would you do with Jack 10?
Definitely continue. Probably bet flop.
So you'd continue with open enders?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I don't know, it feels pretty close. No, my main concern on the turn is, yeah, you are going to strip some 9x out on the flop. The board is two-tone, and there are good shots available that have... there are stronger straight draws available. So we do have like 10-7. We have Jack 10.
Yeah.
And I'm not convinced he's value betting 8x like this, or at least I don't think he should be. So I would rather have 10-7 than this, even though we have one less overcard to the 8. I don't think it's that relevant. Rather the extra equity when he's value betting.
Yeah.
And the board's two-tone, so, or at least the flop's two-tone. So we're going to have some flush draws, which are going to come in before this. It's just that the fold frequency is not going to be that high, right? When he bets less than pot, we're going to be mostly defending the turn. So
and a lot of the hands that you think, oh yeah, we can just call on turn, they might bet flop, so they're stripped as well.
Yeah, you're going to be pulling hands out for sure on the flop. I think I like betting the flop with the heart. I think check's fine. Like it doesn't look like some big mistake on the flop to me. I do just want to double check the turn. I don't mind the fold, but I just want to double check it's not too tight because it's blind versus blind. It's a spot where our range is wide. We can't be folding too much.
Yeah.
There might be a little bit snug, but we'll take a look. In terms of the offsuit block, you know, we're gonna have king tens, we're gonna have queen tens, we're gonna have king jack, king queen, we're gonna have ace 10. We might like jam ace 10 off, ace jack off pre. We might not have those, but if we have ace 7, ace 6, king 7, king 6, they're probably all gonna come out.
Yeah.
Before this. So we might have to flick in a call from time to time, but it doesn't feel like a big blunder or anything.
Yeah.
So small blind raises at 30. He should check the flop a bunch. It's really good for our range. He still has a lot of strong hands, but you can see it's pretty even. It's pretty even flop. He should be betting a polarized range. Small blind checks. We could bet, we can check. We prefer, at the margin, we prefer the spade. And then the heart slightly, but you know, when you don't have a spade, check looks like a really good answer. You can see king 10, which is basically further down in the range, is doing a lot of betting.
Okay.
Which I think it's easy to check these type of hands a lot. I think it's easy to check hands like jack deuce suited. Like what is jack deuce of clubs on the flop? Trash.
Yeah.
It's trash.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's trash means that it checks for the least EV too. It doesn't just bet for the least EV. So when a hand checks for so little EV and it's at the bottom of the range, generally it's going to do a lot of betting. So if you're in these positions, wide range or not, and you recognize, okay, this is my pre-flop range roughly, you know, more suited combos, offsuit sevens. What's the bottom of that range, the new range, after we've pulled out a bunch of hands? Because 5x is a pair now. 6x is a good shot. 7x is a good shot. 8x is a pair. 9x is a pair. So in terms of offsuit combos, the offsuit 10x is at the bottom. These are straight, so the straight draws. So these aren't quite the same. But by the time you get to a hand like King 3, King 4, offsuit, Ace 3, Ace 4, King 10, King Jack, we're doing a lot of betting because it's pretty close to the bottom in terms of the perimeter.
Yeah, they're worth nothing. Well, yeah.
Same with these combos. These 10 deuces. You might be like, oh, I don't want to bet Jack deuce, I want to bet the equity. It's just checking Jack deuce of spades, pretty much pure. We're super shallow. So the betting range, it wants to be pretty polarized in position. Yeah.
Yep.
And this kind of filter section in GTO Wizards a really good illustration. So the top of the range is doing a bunch of betting. The bottom of the range is doing a lot of mixing because we have a lot of air. We don't want to fire all of it. But you can see the block of hands which is doing the most checking is this kind of middle block here.
Yeah.
And that's like we saw before. That's just betting in position. That's going to be pretty consistent. So bet the bottom a lot, bet the top a lot. Check the middle. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah, check. I think fold's fine. Like, I'd be surprised if it was fucking pure call or something. I'll go B75. I think if you're folding Jack 10 in a spot like this, if you're folding flush draws, you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I wouldn't fold Jack 10.
It is pure call. Queen 10's kind of close. I thought it would look something like this with a decent amount of folds.
Yeah.
But I did want to double check because it does feel close. Turns out it's not that close. It's just in. Yeah.
Is in this sim, is Queen Jack like pure call and Queen 10 mix it? Queen Jack just dominates all the straight draws, doesn't it? Is that
I would imagine
reason?
that's why. We're just a touch higher up, and they're both pretty close. So if we look at the betting range, for example, the fact that the small blind has a bunch of Queen 10, and we do well.
Yeah, it means we dominate
those. Yeah, and they're both pretty close. So a couple of combos we do better against is going to make the difference between a mix and a pure call. But yeah, they're pretty close, to be fair. I know it's pure call, but my main concern is just recognizing the fold frequency is not that high. Keep in mind as well, we can't just meet MDF on the turn because his bluffs are going to have equity. So if we meet MDF, we're just getting free rolled by all of the hands which have a little bit of equity. And even 3 deuce has equity against, Ace 7, for example. I mentioned the gut shots coming out. The Ace Highs sticking around, I don't think that's too surprising for you. Ace Highs are always going to be a little bit more resilient with the draws.
Yep.
Flush draws, not mixing. Yeah, it's not close. Don't be folding flush draws on the 10, even against this sizing.
Yep.
Open enders, same thing, pretty much pure call. And yeah, this is where it starts to get close.
To get shots, yeah.
You can see most of the fold frequencies coming from the over-unders we don't bet on the flop. So, the king highs, the queen highs, the ace highs. These broadways I mentioned are going to come out first. These overcards. Yeah. We've still got some trash good shots. We've got some 5x's coming out. So just to put it in context, 5-4 is pure fold, queen jack's in.
Yeah, okay.
So these hands are doing pretty well, like these strong draws. They're doing pretty well. I think we've seen.
Yeah, we did this one.
These. Let's skip a few. Anything about this one?
I think if there's a diamond on the flop, I think it's call always. No diamond. Tough. I'm not sure, to be honest. Size versus size is why I've called, obviously, but yeah, I don't know if this just comes out.
Yeah, feels pretty close. We basically have king 8 offsuit, right? So would king 8 off be in, do you think?
Yeah.
Or do you think king 8 would be out? I'm assuming in, right? Because we called this.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if it's like I think it's really close, like you said.
Yeah, I think this is fine. Ace high is probably going to struggle to come out.
Yeah.
This is the strongest king high we have. That isn't... King 9 is not the same hand, right? King 9's a good shot.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
question for me is, do we continue king high? Any king high at all? I think it's pretty fucking hard for us not to continue some king high against the button. Like 0?
Yeah.
Like that's how much we're defending? 0 king high? It seems tough. Now, having said that, all king high isn't created equal, right? We're not going to necessarily prioritize this over even a hand as low down as king 2 suited.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is pretty good. I wouldn't be folding king x with a backdoor flush draw. I think by the time you get a king deuce offsuit, it's going to be tricky, but I think this is fine. I think it's either pretty close or it's just a pure call, right? But keep in mind, it is a paired board. The fold frequency is going to be elevated. It's probably not going to be worth much if it's in.
Yeah.
But the fact that it feels close is a pretty good sign for me, because I agree. We'll go... What size did he go? Like B33, is there?
Yeah.
A little bit higher.
Maybe
B33-ish.
B30-ish, but yeah. It just feels uncomfortable, doesn't it? Because you'd rather continue even like, I don't know, 9x of clubs, for example. Maybe not 9. Well, depending on if you have straight draw. Like 9-7 of clubs, for example. Do you do a lot of like clicking on these type of boards? So?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it depends on the stack depth. Like if you're super deep, I'm probably going to lean towards a bigger size, which is kind of counterintuitive, actually. Maybe not. What I'm thinking with the deeper stack is the raising range wants to be a little bit more polar, so I'll go bigger. But the problem is the nut ratio for the imposition plays an issue again. So using smaller raises actually probably makes sense across a lot of stacks, especially when you don't need any protection with your top pair.
So on paired board where he covers the offsuit pair, the offsuit, trips.
Yeah, it's just going to be difficult to use a monster size.
Yeah.
You could put a big raise in. It's not going to not use it. It's just going to raise much less. I think it's more important you map your size into your strategy. Don't check raise to 8 big blinds with fucking queen deuce offsuit. That's probably not a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's a polarized size and a unpolarized combo. That would probably suck. But yeah, this is our strategy. So 10x with a backdoor flush draw is pure in. Mostly is a 2-bet. That's how we're bluffing. So we've got 3 to a straight, 3 to a flush. So the question for me was...
Like ours is going to come out, but looks like...
So it looks like the answer to the question, does king high continue without backup? The answer is no. Yeah, we don't need, even against the button, when the sizing goes to 30%, we don't need to defend anything.
But that's because we use a lot more the suited block with the backdoors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we've got these. Yeah. And the fold frequency is quite high.
With the trips, is Jack 10, Jack 9, Jack 8 call in more because they are less vulnerable? So, like, if he has King 10, for example, when we have Jack 9, we cooler him anyway. Or does that not matter?
Yeah, good question. I've seen this a lot. I'm not 100% sure why it tends to do this, but I have seen when the trips is doing a lot of mixing, which is not that common in shallow, because usually you play a high frequency 2-bet there. But when the trips mixes, I've seen on average the combos which do the most calling are the ones that wrap around the board when the board's connected.
Yeah.
So if the board's 8-8-7, I've seen 9-8, 8-6, 8-5 do a lot of calling.
Yeah.
It might be about protection. It might be about blocking the opponent's continues. Like when we check raise, what's he calling with that we smash? It's going to be straight draws.
Yeah, good shot as well.
It's going to be, we want him to, when we have Jack 3, we want him to have, when we have Jack 9, it's hard for him to have 9-8, it's hard for him to have King 9, whatever it might be. That might be playing a role. Protection might be playing a role. We don't really need much protection with trips because the equity is so high. Either way.
No, but you want to have trips in your calling range as well, obviously.
Yeah, so I think that makes sense to me in terms of making certain hands in his range available.
Yeah.
Because when we have Jack 10, it's more likely he has a combo which is further down in his range. So a hand like
Yeah, he
8
should have
5
less
suited.
equity on average.
So yeah, that might be why. So this is going to come out. I didn't mind it, by the way. Like I said, I
Yeah.
would have folded King Deuce for sure. I would have continued King X with the back door. I thought this was in. It's out. It's fine. It's worth 0.
Yep.
We just have, the board's just a little bit too connected. What I am going to check very quickly, though, is what we do on, like, Jack, Jack, Deuce. Because now we don't have all these straight draws to help us. Okay.
Yeah.
So where's the line for... Again, backdoors are going to come in, mostly. It's going to be, like, even 5-4 suited is going to come in. 9-8 suited. Queen 5 suited. Could be competitive, but... No straight draws, so what do we do? No, where's the line?
Yeah, I think, you could be right, yeah.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, it's coming in a bit
It's still
more
pretty
now.
close, but you can see, even though the fold frequency is similar, it's just shifting more towards, like, these are the backdoors instead of straight draws. So again, the backdoor equity of, like, 7-6 suited is prevailing over
Yeah.
King 8, which is it's not that obvious before we see the sim, to me at least, that that's going to be the case.
But again, plays a lot of 2-bets.
Yeah, exactly. You see Queen 3 is in there. 10-4 suited. A lot of these backdoors down here. Basically, if you have a backdoor flush draw, you don't fold much unless it's at the bottom, unless it's this. You just don't really fold.
They're the bottom ones without a backdoor straight draw as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the low cards without connectivity to the board, that's how we fold.
Yeah.
But we can't really play anything else. Like, what else are you going to play on Jack, Jack, Deuce? You're not playing flush draws.
Yeah.
Like, you're not playing straight
Yeah.
draws. What are you going to play? That has to be backdoor equity.
Yep.
What do you think about this on the river?
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because like we are quite low down, but we counterfeit some of his pairs. Which I don't know how much that's worth. But then like we probably 2-bet a lot of the pairs, like our 4s, 5s on flop, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'd agree. We should consider bluffing definitely. But I probably would check.
Yeah. So what would you?
I just have some like 10-8s and shit,
Mm-hmm. So you would rank this as air, but you would rank this as we've got too much air, essentially.
Yeah.
This one feels close. So my main problem with checking this is that the 2-bet frequency in the flops are very high. So you are going to pull out a lot of 10-8s. You are going to pull out a lot of 10-9s. You're pulling out a lot of King 10s, King 9s.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't bluff King 10, King 9 before this anyway, unless we have a good reason to. So
No, yeah.
If we look at what we're bluffing instead, you might prioritize these pairs. That makes sense to me. Like I'm going to do I'm going to bluff the under pairs. I'm going to bluff the straight draws I don't have. I'm going to bluff the suited King X, which is further down. Is that enough? Like we've got a lot of Queen X in this range that wants to value bet. We've got Jack X.
Ace High's just going to check.
I think this is... See, this is how I would play in game. So I'm not sure in game whether this is in or not.
Yep.
So I would bet.
Okay. You just take aggressive line if you're on the fence.
Yeah, kind of. So I think there's the benefit in the sense that the imposition player is going to have...
Do you think he's capped as well? Because checks turn.
No, he's
and he
capped.
goes small on flop.
Yeah, he's capped. I mean, he's not completely capped. Like, he can check queens or queen jack, or like maybe he could check pocket sevens.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, he's pretty capped.
Yep.
Like, Jack X should just bet. So apart from a couple of traps,
7x.
his range is like Queen X, 7x, Ace highs, King highs. It's quite a wide range, so he's going to have to check a lot of air on the turn. He can't just barrel everything.
Yeah. Okay.
But here's the thing. Whenever you're looking at these lines, Mark, where we check all the flop, okay, turn goes check, check, and then we have an opportunity to bluff, he's going to have to overfold MDF. Because we're going to be bluffing hands which are stronger than some hands in his range. Like, so if we bluff King 8, he can't bluff catch with a hand like 10-9. That's not going to be part of the equation because his
Yeah.
bluff catches start with hands which beat all of our bluffs. So he's going to be overfolding MDF. I would imagine. Whenever that's the case, it's always very, very dangerous to check any air. Like, you really have to be certain that bluffing this is a fucking disaster. Like, this might just be pure bet. Like, it might not be remotely close. Because here's the thing: if he's pure folding a hand like King 9, because we should bluff higher up, checking this is a fucking disaster. Like, this kind of line, you've got to be very careful, because you're going to see a lot of bluffs come in spots like this where the EV of bluffing isn't 0. It's not doing it to mix. It's like 1, 2, 3 big blinds because he's folding so much, because he's just forced to because of how his range looks. Like, his fold frequency when we bet pot here is not going to be 50. I don't think it's going to be higher. Whenever that's the case, it's just hard to check her. It's very difficult.
Okay.
I did want to check something.
What would be your size on the river as well?
So I would think about what I'm value betting. So I'm value betting Queen X. I think going bigger than pot with Queen X might be a little bit tricky, because he's probably got, like, when you think about what he bets the flop and checks the turn with, there's probably a lot of 7X in there.
Yep.
He can have Queen X himself.
Yep.
So yeah, betting bigger than pot with Queen X seems difficult, I think, around pot. We do have an asymmetry around Jack X, but shove might be difficult because it's such a big size, and he might have a couple of boards in his range, so shove might get pulled out because of the coverage he has of the nuts. But, you know, for a jack, if you played the spot here and you bet like 20 bigs with a jack, I don't think that's fucking stupid. I think that's pretty reasonable. 25 bigs. Solver might merge them. Solver might be concerned with the nut ratio here. Or it might just say, fuck it, he doesn't have a board ever, I'm going to jam. And then he has to bluff catch. Because that's what you do if he doesn't have a board, right? If he doesn't have a board and he doesn't have a jack, we should jam. And then he sat there with his fucking 7X and he's like, I should call a little bit, otherwise I'm going to get smoked by King 8 the diamonds.
Yeah.
And that's going to make you the most money with Jack X, because, like we might have touched on before, when you break down the math of bet sizing, the bigger you bet, the more money you make. And I don't just mean that in the fucking simple way. I mean, the EV is literally higher to bet bigger with the nuts.
Yeah.
Because the extra money you make offsets the fact that he folds more. It's more beneficial still, even though he folds more.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But let's move on from this one. Super quick. I did want to check what happens when you bet 25, because you should bet a little bit smaller on the flop. B25, it's pretty close. Yeah. I'd probably pull this out.
What does it do on river when we get to this line?
Yeah, let's take a look. So yeah, the reason I would pure bet is because I think it's either going to be pretty close or it's going to pure bet.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Obviously,
well, you wouldn't. But this has got to be quite high up in terms of like the bluffs, yeah, because like you're not bluffing ace high, obviously.
I think I'd probably check ace high.
Yeah,
I think I'll probably check. I don't think bluffing ace high, by the way, is that stupid. Given we get here with so many 2-bets on the flop. But what's going to drive this hand to check if we do check is we just use different hands. But that's why we need to check this spot. It's not because, you know, we think we have showdown value. It's because we have a certain amount of value bets.
Yeah.
And we only need enough bluffs to offset those value bets, right? That's what's happening.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look. It's not using any big sizings, so we'll give it some big sizings. Check looks pretty good, by the way, based on the sim. Keep in mind as well, when you value bet bigger, you bluff more often.
Yeah, because he gets first price.
Yes, exactly. So let's give it a couple of different sizes and see what it thinks. Doesn't like the really big bets. Let's go to the range breakdown. Yeah, I mean, just looking at the ranges, there might be just a little bit too much Jack X and a couple of boards in there to use a huge size.
He's checks back, is it? On turn.
Yeah, I think the 7X.
Yeah.
The 7X is obviously going to drive the value betting down for the Queen X in terms of size. But it looks like it's just a bit of a merge strategy. Jack X is checking. as well. So because we're using a small size to value bet, we don't need that many bluffs. So I would probably make a mistake in this node, and I would probably be betting Jack X a lot to a big size, so I would need more bluffs. But that looks like a mistake. We just want to
When we check,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
what does his range look like? Yeah, so he just goes everything, and obviously his Jack X as well. Has he got a bet call 7x?
Good question. So when he bets, let's go back to the river. So the pot's 10. He bets 6.5. So the pot's 16. We're going to jam around 40, 46. We're going to jam around 3x pot. If we get our calculator out super quick. He's going to have to defend 25% of his range, I believe, because it's just 3 over 4, right?
Yeah.
It's 3 over 3 plus 1 to get the MDF, get the fold frequency. That's his fold frequency. So he needs to defend 25% of his range.
Yeah.
The betting range, specifically.
Yeah.
So the question is, is 25% of his range
Jack
better
X,
than
no.
7x?
In the betting range, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, I agree. So he's going to have to defend some 7x. He's going to defend the Jack X plus, and then he's going to fill up the rest in terms of the call with the other combos. Hey, look at that, 25% defense. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You don't mix Queen X, you don't mix Jack X, there's not enough. So what else have you got in the betting range to bluff catch? It's going to be 7x.
Yeah.
And it just so happens the frequency is roughly, what, on average, of all those, maybe like 75%-ish.
Yep.
So yeah, he's got to defend 7x. That's his betting range.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's his betting range. You can't be like, oh, I'm going to bet the river 2/3 pot after I've checked the turn, and then I'll just defend boats with Jack X. You don't fucking have a Jack, mate. You've just checked the turn. So what else have you got? It's a 7. Yeah, going back to our strategy, King 8's a really good check if you get there. So yeah, nicely played.
But well, I should have followed the flop, so
yeah, let's ignore that. Smashed it. But you see, betting's not worth 0. Like bluffing's not worth 0. We're not value betting when we bet. It's because he's probably going to overfold MDF. Like if we go for like, let's go like B40. That's pretty fucking close, to be honest. It's not a million miles away. But yeah, let's move on. Yeah, probably fine.
Do you think this is range bet board for him? Yeah.
Good question. So I think you could probably defend checks on this board if you use big sizings.
Okay.
It's not obvious to me that one of those strategies is a disaster.
But whenever they check, which I perceive is like a very good board for them, and then they start betting, they're just always like, in my head, they're always waiting to show down hands.
I agree.
I think especially in game, if people have a hand that is just air, they'll just bet the flop, yeah.
If they have like 9-7 of clubs or something.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I've seen. So I've done a lot of c-betting work with students, and even the guys who, I mean, maybe this is not very telling for like recreational players, but most guys when they check here, it's not with a stupid hand. It's with like ace-9. Or it's with pocket tens.
Yeah. Or like pocket 8s or something, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he'll bet the turn with pocket 8s if he does check, but like that hand, for example, where like it's just in their head, it's showdown, but it's not enough to bet.
Yeah, I got you.
Which my hand lose to. So in game, I just end up overfolding all these spots. Which, if you're watching and you play against me, just do that.
This is probably not worth a ton anyway. I don't mind this. I just wouldn't go too crazy with what you're folding there, especially against a small size. Because even when he turns over a decent hand, pairs are going to do super well. Open enders are going to do fine. Give him a couple of bluffs, you're gonna be good. But it's a range bet. I said you could probably argue for a check if you use big sizings. I think you're gonna need to bet super polar very often to be able to check. Based on that, I would just bet 25% with the range. But like betting pot there's pretty reasonable. Betting geo's pretty reasonable. If you want to check, like you could go like, I don't know, The thing is, even with the massive sizing option, it's still not checking. So I think checking's probably going to suck. Nice check. Obviously, he's missed a range bet, so we're probably gonna, like, if you run this and you force this guy to check sometimes, the turn answer for the big blind is going to be to do a lot of checking because we still carry the entire pre-flop range, which is super fucking wide. And even if his range is like kings, how does our entire range do against kings? Not that great, to be honest. Not great. So I think check's good. Yeah, that turn river sucks. I would probably bet one though still. I'll probably still just bet one.
What I did, yeah, checked.
I think check folding's probably a bit of a disaster.
Check slam.
Check slam sounds pretty good. We think about what the top of his range is when he checks 3 times and bets the river. Obviously a flush. It's hard to have a flush when we have a jack of diamonds. A straight. It's hard to have a straight when we have a jack. 2 pair. What 2 pairs are you going to get to the river with? It's going to be 2 pair with a queen. Okay. It's not going to be ace queen. What's it going to be? It's going to be queen 10. It's going to be queen 7. It's going to be maybe queen 5 suited. Yeah. Queen 10 can probably bet the 10, so I don't think the 10's that relevant. But the jack of diamonds is looking pretty good to me. So I'm in camp. Calls.
I've said that. I'll probably end up folding. Yeah, I did check.
There you go. That looks good to me. Yeah, at the margin, I might take like jack 7 because again, I'm thinking about what 2 pair can he have. I don't think he's gonna have queen 10 much, but queen 7 he could have. But yeah, I like it, man. I like it. Yeah, I don't think 2 bet's stupid on the flop.
Yeah, I'm always like in these spots. If it was shallow, like say it's like 30, I'd probably like 2 bet more. I just when I'm this deep, I'm a bit unsure, to be honest.
Fuck me. I wasn't expecting that from you. It's kind of spicy. I think I would just call, you know.
Yeah, it's hard to get paid by worse, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just hard, man. And Corlin's worth so much fucking money. Here, with ace 10, right? Corlin's going to print. Yeah. Corlin's going to be worth like 20 big blinds. 15 big blinds. So for 2 bets to come in.
Yeah.
Obviously, his size on the 10's nonsense. He should just go Geo.
And river.
The river size is nonsense. You never want to be betting less than half pot in position on the river. Generally. I wouldn't say never, actually. Because it does come in sometimes. It feels like he's on a lot of ace 6, ace 4, ace 2, ace 3. And the problem is, I think those are going to be...
It's just too thin.
If they're going to be close, they're going to be pretty close for him. Looks a bit thin. I would just call. I would be on 2 pair to raise there. I don't hate it, though. Like, if he doesn't have a better hand, which might be... That might be the case. He might just never have ace, queen, ace, king when he takes this line. And when that's the case, it doesn't really fucking matter what he calls with. If we have the nuts, we raise. So, I think this is fine. I'll be careful, but I think it's fine. You are going to come up against a lot of players who are just underplaying their hand and they just have ace queen and they're just scared.
Yeah, that's. I think that is going to be a big issue in game.
Interesting. So what are you thinking on the river?
Interesting, because the 10 fills all the straight draws to a pair or better.
Yeah.
But we still got like, what was the flop size?
1/3.
Because we still have like a lot of the backdoor hearts, backdoor spades.
Yes.
So we'd have like king 9 of hearts. So
yeah.
Yeah. Again, I don't know how much you 2 bet them on a flop. Probably similar to the Jack. Was it Jack Queen hand? But yeah, we should just bet river for big size link.
Yeah, so where would you rank this in terms of our categories? So if we just go through them again. So we've got nuts.
2.
Strong value. Strong value. Right, then we should bet generally.
Yeah.
Weak value. We got obviously the nuts are going to be flexible. Strong value is going to do a lot of betting. Weak value is going to mostly check and then bluff catch. It's going to either bet or check, depending on how much we have, whether we
Yep.
need to offset. This is kind of close for me because I feel like we might be able to get away with a check raise. I would expect.
Is that because you block some boats as well, or just you just think it's strong enough?
It's just hard for them to beat us. It's just hard to lose. Like the equity of this hand is going to be super high because they expect clubs to barrel turn a lot.
Yeah.
It's not to say
I
he
think
can't
that's
have like
true as
ace nine
well.
of clubs. Like he can have ace nine of clubs. It's not impossible,
Yeah.
but it's not going to be a big part of his range.
Yeah.
If he is going to check a board on the 10, it's going to be like, maybe pocket eight. So having an eight's pretty good. For me, I'm torn between check and check raise. I'm a little bit concerned on the club. He's not going to reopen that wide. If we think about what he needs
But
to
you're
value
torn
bet now.
between check and check. You mean bet
Bet
and
and
check
check
raise?
raise. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Bet and check raise. So yeah, he's checked the turn, so he's not going to have Jack 9 much. He's not going to have Queen X much. He's going to have a lot of 10x. Does that really want to bet the river? It's kind of close. Whenever that block of hands, which we're checking to get value from, is kind of close to even betting, it's going to be hard for check to be that good. So I think,
Do
we're
you
going to
ever?
bet for value.
Yeah. Do you ever? So say he has a lot of 10x in this line, right? Do you ever think? But I mean, it's hard because you obviously want to be balanced. But do you ever think in game, it's better that you pick the size of this type of hand,
To take the bet and
or
lead,
is
you
that?
mean?
Pardon?
Do you mean to take the bet and lead?
Yeah, because if you check and he goes like, I don't know, 5.5 or 6 bigs or something, you would have made more by betting bigger yourself. But I don't know if that's just like you just play your hand rather than like what your range wants to do.
I mean, the best way to get the most money in against those hands is to check. Think about it this way, right? If we bet,
Because he has to call the check raise.
right, exactly. So
Yeah.
if we bet 7 and he has a 10, the 2-bet frequency is 0%. If we
Yeah.
check, the bet frequency is not 0. So we have an opportunity to get the first bet from that middle block of hands, which value bets thinly. And then we have another opportunity to sometimes get called by a check raise. So the opportunity to make more money is going to be through check. That's how we're going to make the most money against those hands, because they're never going to 2-bet when we bet. I would be mainly concerned about whether they're going to bet at all. Because if the answer is no, we should bet.
Yeah.
And I think if he has like 10-7 suited, I'm not convinced he's going to pure bet. Like ace 10 probably wants to bet, king 10 probably wants to bet, especially with clubs.
Yeah, because he really wants to beat like Jack 10 and 10-9 as well.
Yeah. So I'm kind of torn. I think it's pretty close. I think betting somewhere between pots, maybe 2/3 to like 1.5 is pretty good. But I would lean towards betting on the river personally. This looks really good. If you're concerned, he's not going to bluff catch enough, he's going to get smoked. Like every time you have deuces through 7s, weak 8x, ace high, king high, you're just going to print money.
Yep.
That looks good to me. What we got? So we got hijack. How deep are we? 60 bigs. Let's fly through this. So we've got hijack, big blinds. It's queen, queen 8, right? Check.
Yep.
Yeah, this is the type of spot where when I'm check raising queen X, because we're quite deep and he covers the trips, I would probably use a smaller size, like 40% as a raise or something. This is a good example of a spot where if you do get to the river with like king 9 suited, we're going to need to be doing a lot of betting.
Yeah.
When the board fills out like this, like we've seen before. I think 2-betting the flop's pretty good. There you go. That's kind of sucks, actually. That's just basically not playing calls. I would have played calls here this deep, personally.
Yeah, that is a big takeaway, isn't it? That there's boards where you kind of just play like no calls. Well, not no calls, but 4% is like.
Yeah.
Try getting that. Like, ironically, one of a hand is one of them, but still a bit mad.
Yeah, I do want to. I'm just going to
You
jump on
probably
the
want to
reports.
simplify it, like for your thought process, like to know calls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, based on this sim, like calling sucks. Don't fucking call this spot. I was calling a lot
Yeah.
before we see it because we're super deep. Like, if you give me this spot at 20 big
Yeah,
blinds, I'm going to
yeah.
bet a
That's what I
bunch.
mean. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Right. I want to filter by call frequency. Let's filter by 2-bit frequency. I think the problem with these sims is because they force a slightly bigger size, it's never going to be quite as attractive. Can you see Queen Queen 8 there anywhere? This is why the AI is so much
Gonna
better
be
for
here
me.
now because Queen 7's there. Yeah, there you go.
So this is the inbuilt sim. You see the fucking difference there? Like, that's an insane difference.
Yeah. But that's because you're putting a smaller size, have you?
Yeah, so the difference with these stored solutions is the strategy is mixed. Whereas this is like a forced one third. So maybe if we allow in the AI for him to also bet like 20% and then force him not to, it might look pretty similar because his range might split, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think someone who bets 1/3 on this flop's doing like using two sizings, right?
No, I'd agree.
So this is the solution when you allow him to bet this, but he doesn't. I think this is probably not the solution you want to use. I think the solution you want to use is just to assume this is his bet size on the flop.
And that he's just got one size.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
would drive the strategy to a 2-bet or fold small size. Yeah.
Yes.
But for the sake of
So
sim, we're going to go through this one.
their built-in sim is mixed sizings on flop, whereas the one you've input, you just has one size essentially, is it?
Yeah. So the
Yeah,
range
okay,
that's
there you go.
betting ends up being vastly different. So you're seeing a vastly different
Yeah,
output.
which I think is quite accurate in game, personally.
Yeah, I agree. So I would just play 2-bet or fold there. But it's hard to know that before you run a fucking AI sim and force them to bet 1/3. Like that's fucking hard, man. But in terms of like a GTO solution against a mixed strategy, we do a lot of calling. Yeah, we do a lot of
Yeah.
calling. 8-4 is pretty standard as a call. You can 2-bet, but we do a lot of calling. So 10 of clubs on the 10. We check. He's mixing his 10x. It's pretty cool. I would have checked 10x a lot there. This deep. 5 of clubs on the river. It's pretty close. And when it bets, it's using pretty much the exact size you picked. So there you go. Smashed it. I said I would have leaned towards bet. I'm just a little bit concerned when we check. The big blind's range is weak enough that, 10-7 doesn't want to mix. I'm a little bit
What's the
concerned.
bottom of our value check raise in this?
Good question. Do you want to have a guess just based on what the range looks like?
I'd
based on the
imagine
betting
it's gonna be a flush. I think it's quite thin with a queen, isn't it? I don't know. Maybe it's good, but I just think he'll have enough flushes, I think it's gonna be a flush.
Yeah. If we look at I tell you what, let's strip this size out. We'll go 2/3 only for the imposition player, just to keep it simple. We just look at the range super quick because he's going to have to defend based on the size and we pick X percentage of his range, right? And if you look at how this is constructed, that's a lot of fucking second pair in that range.
Yeah.
It's a lot of second pair.
Flushes.
Not many. There's trips.
What's mad is he's got the same amount of full houses as he's got flushes.
Mm-hmm. He's probably going to be barreling 10 with clubs a bunch. I think check raise and queen X is going to be dicey.
The bottom. Yeah, that's what I mean. So you think a flush as well?
Yeah, I mean, solvers check raise and a flush is the bottom when you do check.
Yeah.
Because you've got to also think about How
Do
do
we
you want
only
to
have?
structure your range,
Do
right?
we in the check raise though? We only have 8 decks of clubs and nut flush. Do we?
Yes. Yeah.
So essentially the hand we have.
Yeah, because when you go to the river range and you look at flushes, unpaired flushes generally are just going in the betting range.
Yeah, you either yeah. So because 8x blocks boats and then nut flush beats the other flushes. Is it?
Yeah, so I would be more confident check raising A7 of clubs than like King 9. So I would always bet King 9. We also make the pairs available.
Yeah, good shout. Yeah.
Because when you bet the river with a flush and you block a pair, you're making it less likely he's going to bluff catch with some random ace 8 offsuit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you give me the choice here between betting 8-4 clubs and some random 7-6, I would bet 7-6 every time. Which we don't have, but you get the idea.
There you go. Yeah, that makes quite a lot of sense actually.
It's the same with checking the turn in position. So when you look at a board like this, if you ask me which flushes do I want to check in position, let's say the board was two-tone, and the turn brings in a flush. When I check in position a flush to basically trap, I'm going to do it with a pair where I blocked some of the calls.
Okay. Yeah.
I know we're getting in the weeds a little bit, so we'll move on, but you get the idea. Yeah, I think check's good. I think he could bet 10%. He should probably always bet the river.
Yep.
Because if you think about how we're constructing our range, we're not checking Queen X on the river, right? We're not checking King 9 much. We're not checking Jack 9 much, because we're going to block those.
Yep.
So where does 10-9 sit in his range after we've checked again? Pretty fucking high up. Like, I think that check's a bit of a disaster, to be honest. Let's take a look. I like his turn check. You know, the board's super coordinated. I think he can bet, though. When you've got a second pair with an open ender like that, that's a lot of equity. It's not obvious to me you want to check 10-9 and then bet like Queen 3. Maybe you want to.
I'd have to call a lot of like 8-6, 8-5 type hands as well.
Yeah. I think his check's fine. Turn lead might be an option for us in the big blind, but I think starting with check, especially with a hand like this, I would go for. It's leading a little bit, but our hand's just checking. His hand's pretty close. You can mix. River was a blank, right? Deuce.
Always a blank. The deuce.
So you can go 10% with, actually that's B25. So yeah, you could probably check on B10. What are we doing with Queen X? We're betting. What are we doing with 9X? We're blocking. So that's why I would bet 10-9. But it's pretty close, to be fair to him. It's pretty close. Maybe you could make an argument if you're playing someone who is a little bit less, they're a little bit more straightforward. They don't have as many check raises in their range, either as a bluff or for value. Like they're not checking enough, like Jack 10s. We've still got some Jack 10 here. What else have we got? We got some Queen 8 still in the range, which is check called the flop, and I was checking a check raise. Then value betting's probably the answer in position.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's do one or two more and we'll finish up here.
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah. I would block. That sucks. So what are your thoughts on the river?
My thoughts on the river. I don't like it. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to have. Obviously, I have a 7 as well. Like Jack, I probably could check some, but I would probably bet a lot of them.
Yeah. What we doing with Jack X a lot on the flop?
Yeah.
This
Too bad.
shallow. Probably going to be two betting a lot, aren't we?
Yeah, it's hard to even like straight draws. You probably two bet some of them on flop. That make it straight on the river. Or
What
like,
would
yeah,
yeah?
5-3 off, I'd probably fold pre.
What would you do with Jack X on the river?
If I have Jack X on the river,
Mm-hmm.
I would probably jam.
Yeah, I would probably do a lot of betting. What would you do with 7x out? Because I would be betting a lot as well.
I would say block, but then this is similar.
Yeah.
So I don't know really. I'd like to think I'd block in game, but
Yeah,
I
but
obviously
this
didn't
so,
block
so
this
this
one.
feels pretty close, would you say, in terms of river?
Yeah.
And what about against jam?
Well, like you said, I don't really have too many better hands, which is the tough part. I'm trying to think of what he bluffs or value jams river with as well. I don't beat value, so don't want to call. But then, like again, I don't really have worse, so I probably have to call.
Yeah. So let's start from the top. Let's break it down. So I think the flop's fine. I think Jack X is probably going to do a lot of two betting. To be fair,
Would you
it's
fold non-backdoor flush draw descent 6-9 hearts?
probably not. I'm having a hard time pulling pairs out here.
Okay.
If we're going to do it, it's going to be, against a bigger size and against this position, to be fair. So I think that would be the best argument for folding a little bit in terms of 10-6 offsuit, whatever it is.
Yep.
I think call's pretty standard. I think shoving when we're this shallow with low pairs is going to be pretty reasonable, but I'm going to prioritize the ones which which need more protection. So, 7 deuce of hearts probably makes more sense to jam than 9-6 of clubs. Not because it's a stronger pair, but just because it needs less protection. So combos with clubs with diamonds are probably going to play tens and rivers a little bit easier. So I would rather jam. Same with Jack X. If you show me a sim where Jack 10 with a 10 of diamonds does a little bit of calling, but then Jack deuce of hearts jams, that makes a lot of sense to me. So I'm thinking value protection on the flop. I think Jack X generally, when we're this shallow, is going to do a lot of two betting. I think 7x is going to do a lot of blocking on the river. Because when you think about what his strategy looks like here, when we break down his line, I wouldn't be checking pocket eights much on the 10. Because in my mind,
Yeah,
the big blind
that's
doesn't
what I
have
was thinking. Is
Jack
how
X much, right? And if we don't have
how
Jack X
many
much in the big blind, then the imposition play can value bet is over pairs, right?
Yeah, but and that's what I was trying to think of on the river. Like, how many of those does he just bet the turn and he doesn't get to the river with them? Like maybe he checks like aces. I don't know, but
Yeah, maybe aces kings with the diamond don't need much protection. I would still bet those a bunch. My checking range on the turn imposition is going to be pretty capped, which is even more of a reason for us in the big blind to go for a block with the weak pairs. I think I would just be 25 with, because this is most of our range is 7x and 6x, so that sizing fits with how our range wants to invest. It's going to be small bets. To be fair, when we do have a jack and he has a value bet, he has queens, when we block, he's going to jam anyway. So if we do get here with Jack X, maybe that wants to block. But
yeah.
I don't get here with much Jack X. That's kind of the point. I don't get here with much 7x. So when we check and he jams and we have to defend 50% of our range, that beats bluffs against pot size bets. What does the range look like? It's weak pairs. Yeah, it has to be this. It has to be hands like this. If you never call a hand like this here, you're going to get fucking wrecked. You're going to get smoked.
Yeah, which is before that's probably the case. Because I just don't break down the range enough in game that fast.
Yeah. No, I got you. It's tough. It's tough, especially across multiple streets.
Yeah.
You're not always playing against the same opening range, which you might feel super confident with. Now it's under the gun. Earlier it was button. Now it's more difficult. But I think if you're pure folding this block of hands, if you are going to choose to check the river, we're going to be folding too much. I think this is more important of a spot to make sure you're defending enough, purely because he can overbluff very easily. It's so easy for him to overbluff the river.
Yeah.
Because his value bets are very limited, right?
Yeah.
Either he has...
And he might very well still just jam the turn with pocket eights.
He might. Yeah, he might.
A7, you know?
Because that's... What is his value range on the river? It's like a couple of overpairs, maybe some Jack X that wants to trap. It's pretty thin. Like, how many bluffs does he have in his range in terms of just random Queen 10 suited, 10-8 suited, 10-9, King 10, King Queen, King 8. So he's just infinite bluffs and a very limited value range. So
yeah,
I think it's important you defend enough here. Unless your opponent's just an insane nit. Like his VPIP's 2% and he just has queens. Let's take a look at this one and then we'll finish up. Let's see if we can get an asymmetric sim as well. Try and get the actual answer. So we've got... I guess this is early position with 20 versus big blind 10.
No, 25-15. Oh, no.
No, you're right, about 25-15. A little bit deeper. There you go. Bang. So that's his opening range. A little bit on the tighter side. We're going to defend super wide. We're shallow. We're against a linear range. Not much folding. That's perfect. I think he bets 40% on the flop, right? Ish.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit big. He should go B25. This shallow.
Yep.
B40 might drive some checks in. It's driving a little bit of check in. So we jam a bunch, but we call a bunch too. 7x and 6x, for the most part, is just calling.
Mm-hmm.
See, with 9-7, it wants the clubs.
Yeah.
But with a lot of them, it's like 7-5. It calls with clubs. It's a little bit messy, but I'm not surprised to see the lower cards jamming to fold out those broadways. Like, we're calling King 7 pretty much pure, but we're jamming 7-3. We're jamming 7-5 there. This makes sense to me that it's focused around the bottom of the range.
Because we're just so shallow, yeah, and we just make like Queen 10 fold.
Yeah. I said I would probably call like Jack 10 with a diamond. It looks like it likes that idea. So you can see the offsuit combos with a diamond, they need less protection.
Yep.
So that strategy is pretty fucking clean too. Like, it's not mixing. Like, if you have a high card diamond, you just call. Kind of like a trap.
Yeah.
Jack X of diamonds is doing the same. I said I would jam like Jack Deuce of hearts. It likes that. So these top pairs which don't need as much protection, we can call, but mostly top pairs are going to go in. So by the time we get to the river, this Jack X is going to get pulled out. We call. Tens of Jack. Again, if I have pocket tens on the turn in position, I'm just going to bet.
What's his turn range?
In position.
So you should bet, yeah.
Yeah, we'll take a look. We have a lot of leads, by the way. I wouldn't have led that much on the turn, personally. We have to pull those out. So there's his range. So he is checking a little bit of Jack X of diamonds, specifically. Here's Jack with a diamond. But you see, like, 8s through aces is just not really checking.
They're just all in, yeah.
So you show me this checking range, and we have a 7 on the river or a 6, I'm blocking, personally. The river's a blank, right? 4.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to block now.
So there's the river check.
Yeah.
Disaster. I mean, predicting like a fucking range bet's hard, so I can forgive you for checking, but he's just fucking capped. Like, he doesn't have it. What's his range on the turn? Queen 10, Queen 9, King 10, ace eyes, a couple of traps, like a really small amount. Other than that,
and we just have so many pairs.
Yes.
Better.
So if we go to this range breakdown, now you're going to see what's going on. I mean, look at this.
That's mental.
And this kind of advantage across this large middle and block is being mapped onto the strategy. You can see how this how often it's betting and the size it's using is basically matching this. Like in the middle of the range, we smash him. So we do a lot of betting and we do a lot of betting to a middling size.
Yeah.
And you don't need a jam. It's not mostly jamming. It's mostly not jamming. We can take these out to drive some checks in.
Even then, though.
It's just too high up. So I would have made a mistake there and used a non-all-in size. Actually, I guess B40 is good, but if you're playing shove or check, you should jam. That's your strategy.
What's his jam range? Sorry.
So for value, he's got some boats. He's got a little bit of Jack X of diamonds. He's got
Queens, Kings, Aces.
Yeah, but not at that weight. I don't know why it's showing them at that weight. And then to offset them with bluffs, he's using some of these, some ace highs. I wouldn't use these personally. I would bluff further down because I don't have a reason to prioritize these. I would bluff like Queen 9. But I wouldn't bluff much because I don't have that much value, right?
Yeah.
And it's mixing, which is not surprising when his range is. We still have a bluff catcher when he jams. So
yeah,
we don't want to call all of them. We don't want to fold all of them. That's going to be way too much. So what do? We mix. But to be fair, the bulk of the calling range has been carried by 7x.
Yeah.
But again, if you're not checking 7x on the river there, the bulk of your calling range is not going to be 7x because there's not going to be any 7x in there. So it's going to need to be hands like this, it's already worth 0. So I would be.
Well, we need to bet ourselves.
We need to bet.
If we check, we need to call. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the footnotes for me. Is with this line, with him being so capped, don't fucking check on the river.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense.
But yeah, we'll finish up there, Mark. You did pretty fucking well today, to be honest. I would be pretty happy. Like, I don't mean to sound too surprised, like a dickhead, but no, you did really fucking well. Like that 8-4 suited was spot on. There's a couple of other hands that you nailed, so yeah, good for you, man.
Hopefully it gets better.
Yeah, it will. And we'll just be patient with it.
Yeah. Thanks, mate.
Right. I'll catch you in the next one, man. Peace.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, man.